Today we're going to take a look at some gimbals and head tracking options from a brand called XF Robot. Now these gimbals are designed for use with FPV systems such as Avatar HD, DJI O3, as well as the original FPV system as well. In fact, you can even use these gimbals with analog FPV if you wanted to, and they also have some really nice head tracking options available too that allow you to convert any goggle to be able to work with these. Now, these gimbals may look very familiar, and we'll talk about that a bit more later on in the video. But today what we're going to do is give you an overview of the gimbals that are available, and then going to walk you through the features and capabilities of the head tracking. And then I'm going to strap them onto one of my crawlers and take it out and about for a drive and just give you an overview of how these work. Now, this really isn't a review as such. This is me sort of going through what the products do and testing them for myself. I haven't flown them on aircraft yet. I'm going to be doing that in a future video. And if you'd like to see that, please do make sure you are subscribed. Now, just before we get into this, I should just be clear that I was sent these gimbals over for free. However, I've not been paid to make this video. This video is not sponsored. And as always, my thoughts are entirely my own. Okay, so I've turned the lights down so you can see the boxes here a little bit easier, because when I had the lights on full, it was just reflecting off the top. Now, this isn't going to be a review video. It's going to be an overview. I will be reviewing these products on the channel over the next couple of weeks. I need a lot more time to test them before doing that. Here and now, I'm just going to give you an idea of what we've got. Now, they have sent me 4 boxes. It says the same gimbal, but I don't actually think it is. We'll take a look as we move through. I do know one of these is specifically designed for O3, and I assume the rest will work with the likes of Avatar HD. We have head trackers. We have a box that says O3 and a box that says standard. Now, what we're going to do is go through each of these, take a look at what we have. I will also do a comparison on these compared to something else that looks very similar as well in this video. But as I've said, I'm not really going to be talking about the performance in this one, but that will be happening in the future. So please do make sure you are subscribed for that one. Okay, so we're going to start with the gimbals. Now, if we flip the boxes over, it actually has some labeling on them. So we have a C-20T, C-20S, and standard, and O3. Now, I know the O3 one has the wiring for the O3 ear unit. I'm going to pop that one to the side. We'll take a look at that a little bit more in a minute. Then we have the C-20D, S, and standard. These are designed to be used with either the Caddx Vista or the Avatar HD system. They use that standard MIPI cable. Now, we'll start with the box that says standard, because I'm not sure what that one is. Okay, we have some screws, we have a cable, and in there we have what appears to be a 3-axis gimbal. So this is the 3-axis one. You've got your yaw, your pitch, there and there, and then your roll. This comes pre-wired with that MIPI cable, which, as I've said already, will work with the Avatar HD system or the Caddx Vista DJI FPV ear unit RunCam link. Then on the back, we have our connections. So we have a connection on the side there, connection on the back there, and a connector there. I will be honest, this is very similar, as in very, very similar to the gimbals that we've seen from Caddx on Avatar HD. When I say similar, it could even be the same. Now, it has this setup here for the isolation, just like that. That then will bolt to your frame or bolt to whatever you want to bolt it to. And then we've got our IO around the back there. Now, these gimbals appear to have some really good pitch movement. There's no limitations on this like there was on the other gimbal that I talked about. Loads of movement on roll as well. Wow, loads of movement there. And whilst it's not a 360-degree yaw, it is pretty good. Now, there's not really a lot more to show you on this one other than that. So what we'll do is we will move over to the next one. So that is the standard. Let's go for the 20S. Big piece of foam in the top. We have a cable harness kit. And we have a gimbal in a bag at the bottom. Okay, so this is the single axis. There it is. Now, this doesn't come with a MIPI connector cable connected. It is just the gimbal itself. Very interesting design, actually. If you look at it, so you've just got your pitch control up and down. You've got your PCB at the back that the gimbal actually bolts to, so it doesn't bolt. There's no metal that's going across there. It's actually just the PCB. You've got your I/O connectors there. It's definitely designed for a more integrated setup. It's not to say you can't install it on anything of your own, but because it is open, you're going to want to make sure you house it. On this side, you've got that little open area there, and then our camera mounts onto there. If you're going to put a MIPI cable through this one, you are going to have to take it apart and put it in yourself, but it wouldn't be particularly difficult. There's a screw hole there by the look of it. There's space there. Pretty straightforward. Nothing particularly complicated. Now, and I'm going to not bother putting that back in the bag, but that would suggest that the next one is the 2-axis gimbal, which makes sense when we talk about it compared to what other people are offering. And there it is. The 2-axis gimbal is included. This is very much the same. I've actually got this gimbal here from the other brand. I actually have two. We'll take a look in a minute. Again, pre-wired for Avatar HD and the Cadex Air Unit Vista. You've got the 2 axes, pitch and roll. It's mounted to this carbon fiber plate. You've got these little metal inserts that go in there and there as well. You've got your I/O on the back. You've got your connector there, there, and there. And again, pretty much identical to the other ones. Now, as I've said, we also have one which is O3. I don't know which one they've said. Okay, so it's the 3-axis. So there is a 3-axis version which is designed to be used with the O3 Air unit. So included with this is our screws and our wiring harness, which I'm not going to open, but there is something else in here. And what this is, it's specifically designed for the O3 Air unit, is for the camera. So this allows you to mount the O3 camera module inside this. So you actually have to take the camera module outside its housing. You strip it down, mount it into here. Okay, so here I have an O3 camera module. This can't mount directly to the gimbal. This needs to go in this housing. The reason you need this in the first place actually is because the original O3 camera in its housing is 20mm wide. This is 19, so you need a bracket to hold it into, and that's what they include here. The first thing you need to make sure is before you fit this is that you get the lugs the right way around. There are 2 little lugs on the front of the O3 camera. When you look at it, one lug is below and one lug is above the screw hole. So you just got to make sure that you do get it right. So there we go. Looking inside, that goes there to there, so it's that way round. It is easier to do this with a pair of tweezers. It isn't easy to do with your fingers. What I would suggest is getting a pair of tweezers and dropping it in just like that. And then you have some screws that they include with it. There are some long ones and short ones. I'm not sure if it's the long or the short. Let's try the short one first, and if it doesn't work, we'll then try the long one. Nope, it's the short one. That went in absolutely fine. So we got the 4 screws that they include with the kit. You will find that the original ones DJI included don't fit. I'm just going to put 2 in for now, and there you can see the O3 camera then is mounted on the front there, and then we would simply connect up our MIPI cable, which again is going to be a little bit of a fiddle, but it will go. A little pair of tweezers will help to make this easier. And then you can simply mount it on the front like that there. Next, we're going to move over to these little head tracking boxes. Now, I assume they're the same. I haven't actually opened these yet, but let's open one up. I'm going to assume they are the same. Get rid of that. And there it is. So this is the little head tracking module that you can mount to your goggles. Some buttons on it. It's got a battery built in. You can see it there. We've got a plus and a minus. There's a USB-C port. There is a connection port there. So you've got TX, RX, plus and minus. So that's a UART or an output. Really, that looks like everything around it. That almost looks like an SD card slot, but it's not. And then you've got a 3.5mm jack output, which I guess is your traditional output. There are no wires included in this, so I don't know, is that what comes in this box? Let's have a look, because I genuinely don't know. I have no idea of what is in that. Is it something separate? Is it part of it? It says standard and O3, so it almost implies something specific for one than the others. Oh wow, okay, so it's some form of connection kit and everything. Oh wow, no, there's definitely a lot more in here. Okay, so we have some 3D printed bracketry, some antenna parts. Okay, now I'm getting intrigued. There is a transmitter. Oh, right. It's coming to me now. Sorry. Yeah, so it has its own transmitter module option for sending the head tracking data. I'd forgotten about this. So it has its own receiver and transmitter. And then you've got this board here, which is for mounting the gimbal on, which that is very cool. Actually, that has the receiver on board for connecting to. So you've got a transmitting module here, and that's got the pins that go into the top of this. So it has a wireless head tracker. This is coming back to me now. So you've got this module here. So we've got this little plastic cover, which this board goes into, and the antenna goes into. Is that 3D printed? It doesn't actually look it. So that, does this slide into this by the look of it? Does look like it does. Ooh, actually, you need to be really careful. There is a jump wire there. Look at that. Okay, not sure about that. But you do need to be careful. Definitely looks, yes, definitely 3D printed. Radio link. The UFL popped off. So this goes onto the top of this module like that and gives you the wireless transmitting head tracker. So then this cover obviously is going to go like that. On there, you're going to need to pop that cable underneath. Do we push that in like that? Or there you go. So that goes there. Sorry, we are all learning together on this one. There we go. Ooh, I've turned it on and it started, look. What happened there? Press the button. Oh, there's LEDs there, look. There we go. So that has a little sticky pad on the bottom as well you can use to stick it to it. So that is the wireless transmitter module for the head tracker. And then this board, and there is additional wiring. Ooh! And a little fan. And then you have this little board, which has a built-in receiver for the head tracking, our antennas, our I/O, and then a board at the front here for mounting the gimbal on. Or that will snap off. So you can see there they've got that going through there. And then that's going to allow you to mount that elsewhere if you want to. But really the idea is that you can mount your gimbal onto here, connect your gimbal into this, and then use the wireless head tracking feature. Now this one is labelled O3. I'm not sure what the fundamental difference is on it. Let's just have a look. So you've got another transmitter there like that. That board looks identical. It is. There's no difference on that board there. No difference on that board there. I'm guessing, does it have a different set of wiring harnesses or something else? There's a USB. I wonder if it's just different screws, you know, for the O3 air unit. It says O3, and it's got, I suspect it's the brackets. There we are, look. So that bracket set says O3. Actually, no, yeah, and that bracket, okay, so the standard bracket set is for O3 air unit. The bracket set on this is for Avatar HD. Now, with regards to mounting this setup is starting to make sense. As I have mentioned, we have seen this on the gimbals from the other manufacturer, and it didn't really make much sense. It does when you have this kit, because this mounts to this like that there. You put the screws through the bottom, which we're going to do in a second. You can then mount the air unit to the bottom of this with the included fan. They include the wiring harnesses that jump through as well. And it just makes a very small and tidy setup. So I'm going to assemble this and we'll come back and try and get it powered up and have a look at that wireless head tracking in action. Okay, so I've screwed the gimbal to this bracket. We've got the air unit cable there coming off the back. Now I was going through the wiring harnesses and they've got this really short one, and I'm going to make the assumption, looking at the limited info I've been able to find, that goes from there to there. Just need to make sure I get it the right way round. There we go. That is the IO, and I'll be honest, I've been looking at the manual from the other brand. That is the IO and the connections. Quite stiff, that. I'd put a bit of a curl in it like that. You're not going to get any vibrations go through, but it is just worth... Yeah, it would be nice with some softer silicon wires on that one, in my opinion. Right. We've next got to figure out the other connections. Now, I'm guessing that one is firmware update USB, because there is this USB cable included here. Let's just open that up. Oh, actually, no, it won't be that one. So I'm wrong. So there's a USB-C port for updating the firmware. Where does this go? Not sure. Actually, is that for the head tracker? No. So that connector doesn't look the same as the connector on the gimbal or on the board. Technically, it's the same as that one there, but it doesn't fit. Okay, we will come back to that one in a minute. Now, we next need to figure out what the I/O is for this. We've got these other wiring harnesses, but I need to understand, there's a couple here. There's a longer one of those cables I just had if we needed it. And then we've got these ones here. So I now need to just try and find what the wiring is or power requirements of this board, because I haven't actually checked what voltages this takes. Okay, so I have found the manuals and instructions for all of this gear, and actually I have to say they are very extensive. A lot more than I was finding initially when I searched it. Looks like they've got a new website up and everything is located there. So the wireless head tracker works on 2.4 gigs, looks to be similar frequency range to most RC systems. That may be a little bit problematic if you're flying 2.4, but if you're flying Crossfire 900 Express LRS, you won't have an issue. We then have our I/O over here. There is a dedicated, what they call O3 connector. That is actually the same pinout as you have on most flight controllers for O3. You then have another I/O connector here. This one just has the UART connector, whereas this one also has the PWM channels. This unit will take inputs of PWM. It has 3 channels for that. It takes UART or it takes S-Bus, and that is all available via that bigger harness control there. But if you're going to use it with a wireless head tracker, obviously you're not going to need any of that. Now, with regards to power input, it's for 7.4 to 26.4 volts, which is good to see. We'll get the weight up in a minute and we'll take a look at how that looks. But what I am going to do next is power it up on the bench, and then let's just see how it works. There's no camera on it, so it might not like it. It's probably going to vibrate and move around, but we won't worry about that. We'll just give it a try and see how it goes. It's now powered up. You can see we've got the flashing light on the board. Gimbal is vibrating. That is because there is no weight on the camera. That's fine. That is to be expected. So we're going to need to turn this unit on. So we're going to use the head tracking option. And I do have the manual up for this, actually, as I'm looking at it. I need to understand the buttons on this. So how do we turn it on? There's a button you press there, which seems to select mode. But it then, do you press and hold? Doesn't seem to be the case. I'm trying to see if there's how do we power it on? Powering on and off. Press once to check the battery level. Press once and press again for 2 seconds to turn on and off. Oh, you turn it on and off like DJI. Press once, press and hold. There we go. Head tracking is kicked in. It's already binded to this, which that's interesting. I didn't have to bind it. So does that mean that they all have the same binding frequency, or they have a generic one out the factory? Don't know. That's weird. This was 2 separate boxes, completely sealed. But anyway, it is working. I'm just going to hold that there so you can see. So we want it that way round. Now, I don't know how we center on this. There's a mode button, and I'm not sure what the modes are that are available. I'm just looking there. So, okay. So, if we have a look at what we're doing. So, that's up and down. So, I'm going to turn it there. But I want to reset is what I want to do. So, that's pitch forward, that's pitch back. I'm the wrong way around, but that is that. Forward and back. Okay, so that is, so if we hold it there, yeah, I'm going to press a mode button. I'm just trying to see what the different modes do. What happens if you press and hold? So press and hold in the mode button recenters it. So let's do that first of all the right way around. There we go. Right. So let's move that to there. So forward. Back, tilt head to the left, tilt head to the right. So that is definitely more FPV behavior. Press and hold to center. Okay, now I've been having a play with the stabilization. I think I've worked it out. There are 3 modes and there are 2 different behaviors. You've got dampened, so it moves and follows, but it dampens the movement. And then you've got stabilized. So whatever moves around it, it tries to keep the camera in the same direction, the same pitch, the same angle, and the gimbal will move around it. So we're in mode 1. If we look at pitch, first of all, forward and back, it is counteracting the pitch, so that is stabilized pitch. It is trying to keep the camera pointing forward. When I move this back, it's trying to keep the camera at the same angle. If we then do roll, it is the same. It is counteracting the roll movement, so that is stabilized. But yaw is dampened. So yaw follows. Oh, I've actually unplugged the power cable there. Let me just plug it back in. What you saw was yaw was following the movement, but it was dampening that movement. So again, yaw, I'm turning the board. The yaw is following. The camera is pointing that way, but it is stabilizing it. So the only way to yaw is with the head tracker. If we then move to mode 2, so in mode 2, pitch follows, so it is dampened. Roll follows, so it is dampened. Yaw follows, so it is dampened. So in mode 2, any outside movement is dampened, but the camera will follow that movement. That is really like the DJI FPV mode on their drones. And then the third option is pitch is stabilized, camera retains forward and center. Roll is dampened, so roll follows. That's actually more like the DJI FPV mode, as does yaw. Yaw follows as well. What there isn't then, looking at the modes, is the free yaw mode. There is no mode where the yaw can rotate freely around it. The only way to move the yaw is with the head tracker that you see here. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is get this set up with a Moonlight kit. Now, I have the bits that they've included here. which I assume fits the Moonlight VTX. They did ship these parts included with the kit. We've got an antenna connection. We've also got our little rubber pieces here. I just need to understand if these do fit on this, or is it a different plate? No, I think this is for the standard VTX. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, there's another kit here. Wrong one. Let's open this one up. And there we go. We've got plates. Okay, so we've got one here that looks like for one of the other VTXs, and then we've got this one. Looking at their instructions, it looks like this one is designed for the Moonlight, so that goes on there like that. So we need to use a couple of smaller screws for that one. They're threaded screws in this. Are they including them with this kit? I cannot see yet. These were the screws we had there. But let me just have a look at what else we've got in the box. Oh yeah, I found them. Yes, there were more screws. They were hiding under my box. They were included with it. So we're going to mount these through there like that. I'm not going to tighten them too much. And then the other piece is the bracket that goes on to the other side for mounting the fan, which you're going to want with this as well, because you're definitely going to want to cool this VTX in real world use, because we all know what this one gets like. So there we go. We've got that there. We then have this little fan assembly, and then there was the other piece, which is this one here. So the fan mounts onto this like that, and then this mounts onto the back of it like that one. Right, so what you look like you do is you replace the original screws that come with Moonlight with those ones that go through and into the bracket. Okay. Which now means I've got them in the wrong place, so I need to move. Okay, so what it looks like actually is you mount those screws through, and then that goes into that bracket, which goes onto the fan. The only downside to this is I've mounted this, and I now need to take it off again. Now, you've had me talking, showing you, right, we're going to mount this and put that there like that, which you can absolutely do, but that isn't the way it's designed to go. It is designed to go on the top. Now, if you did try to mount it upside down, whilst it would work, the cable for the fan won't fit. Obviously, you can see that I haven't read the instructions properly, and obviously you can see by doing that, it isn't going to fit properly. So what we now need to do is mount it on the top, not on the bottom. Clearly, as a result of that, I've got the fan the wrong way round, so I'm going to have to go and change that in a minute, but we'll do that once we've got this mounted. This actually mounts on the top there, over the top. Let me get that sorted. Let me rotate the fan around, and then I'll show you it all together. Okay, so that's the build there complete. We've got our Moonlight camera up front on the 3-axis gimbal. We've got our Moonlight VTX, our fan, our VTX antennas, and our head tracker one. And I have to say, I think this makes a really nice, clean setup. Very cool. Very cool indeed. Now, I'm going to be using this on my rover. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to be using it on my crawler. But what we're going to do next is just give you an overview of this head tracker working. The great thing is we can stick it to a set of goggles. We can stick it on the top, and then we'll see it working. Now, to demonstrate this, I have stuck the head tracker to the top of the Caddx Goggles X. I'm just using a bit of VHB tape there, and we've got the wireless antenna then sitting on the top, and then we've got the unit there, which you can see is moving around as I move the goggles. So what we'll do is hop inside and have a look. Okay, so I've got it all hooked up. I'm going to pop the goggles on. I've got a camera there recording at the front, so you can see the camera's movement as well. And I am recording on the display in my goggles. So just to give you an indication, we're going to have a look around. Let's have a look over there. There's the mouse. Oh, we can go right round to the boxes there. We can go down to the XT60, which is waiting to short and set something on fire. We can have a look at the camera there, but it just gives you an idea of the movement. If I tilt my head, we get the tilted movement up and down. You can see right down actually to the bracket on the gimbal, which is quite impressive. You can see the ceiling there. Overall, the head tracking is very stable. Now, I can't really show you the modes in this video because I'm not flying, and I think we'll have to look at the modes elsewhere. Interesting, we've just had the overheat warning come up on the Avatar VTX. It is running with the fan. You can't see it, but the fan, if I turn right around, can you see the fan? Yes, you can. There is the fan. You can see the fan is running on the top, but it is quite warm in here today, so that may have an impact on it. It is going to need some airflow from outside. I'm not sure this fan is going to be able to really keep the Avatar Moonlight under control. You might need to do some upgrades around that. Now, just taking a look at this on the spectrum analyzer, as I've mentioned already, it does transmit on the 2.4 gigahertz band. If we take a look at what size carrier it is, it takes up a space of about 20 megahertz. It is an FHSS signal that is moving around, but it is moving around in a very small band. What I would say is it takes up the space between 2445 to 2466, and that is it transmitting there. Now, there will be an overlap on this with the likes of most 2.4 gigs RC systems. So for instance here, I've got an Express LRS radio. If I just power this on, just to show you, we will wait for it to kick in, and there you can now see those Express LRS signals appear around the same channel as this head tracker is on. Express LRS is using a much wider piece of bandwidth. With regards to the RF power it's outputting, it's quite hard to measure it, but what I'm going to do is just give you an equivalent. So if you see at the moment, it's definitely taller than the carriers for Express LRS. If I just go into the system, this is currently on 10 milliwatts. If I then just start dropping the power up a little bit, that's at 50. That's at 100, still a little bit lower. 250. 250 there looks very comparable. I'd say it's outputting something in the region of 250 milliwatts. That is what it sort of looks like. These two are literally side by side with the antenna for the analyzer in the same place. This isn't at all an accurate way of measuring a signal, but it is a way of sort of getting a comparative output. And I'd say, yeah, 250 milliwatts, something like that. What this is going to mean, though, is if you want to use this with your RC signal, there could be a problem. Although this is a one-way system, so it is not dual transmitting. It isn't transmitting out and transmitting back. So technically, both of these could work over each other at the same time, but I suspect you will get problems. And I'll be honest, if you're going to use the head tracker module, I would strongly suggest you using 900 megs rather than 2.4. Now, to demo this, I have fitted it onto the front of my crawler. I intend to actually mount this on the inside in the future, but for today, it is just a quick demo, so it is stuck to the front with some VHB tape. So I've got the head tracker on top of the Goggles X. You can see the gimbal there, and if I move it around, you can see that it is following. I have been playing with the sensitivity buttons, but I don't seem to be able to get them to do much at the moment. That's something I'll address later on, but here and now, let's go for a ride. Here, I've switched the stabilization mode to it no longer stabilizing the roll. I'll be honest, this even made me feel a little bit sick when doing the edit, let alone in the goggles. This really isn't one you're going to want to use on a crawler or a rover, but you can see the difference that it makes. Okay, so to share with you some thoughts on these gimbals and head trackers. Now, this isn't really a review because I haven't fully tested them and I've only really been using the 3-axis. I am going to make more content on the 2-axis and the single-axis in the future. I will say up front, I am really impressed with how well not only the gimbal works, but the head tracking as well. There is no question this is very similar to a gimbal that you may have seen from another brand. And when I say very, I mean identical. However, it is packaged differently. It is set up differently, and it's really nice that it has this wireless head tracking feature as well. If you don't want to use the wireless head tracking, you can use PPM too, so you're not goggles dependent with these gimbals. They offer them in 3 versions, but also you have the option for O3 on the 3-axis as well. It is the same gimbal, it's just that they include a camera adapter and they include the cable for O3. If you want to use it, though, with another system, you could. You would just have to replace the cable. It isn't that it is any different. It's just that they include different accessories. The reason you have to have an adapter for the camera on O3 is that the O3 camera is 20mm, not 19mm like the gimbal. So you have to remove it from the housing, put it in its new housing, and then install it into this. And I'm going to be covering O3 on one of the other gimbals in the future. With regards to its use out and about, I have to say I was really impressed with 2 specific things. Number one, how well the gimbal kept its orientation. It very really lost where it was looking, and just how well the head tracking worked. Really smooth. It was actually a lot of fun being out with the crawler with this, and I've just got 0 complaints in that respect at all. You are going to have to be careful if you are using a 2.4 gigs control link, if using the wireless head tracker, because as I mentioned already, this is 2.4 gigs, although I used it with the crawler on 2.4 and I had no problems. I'm not saying, though, I would fly with that. Flying with it is a different thing altogether, but what is nice is it is completely goggles independent. You can use this with any system you want. You can use it via PPM. You can use it via the 2.4 link as well. One thing I do want to highlight on this is the fact that whilst it is identical, it does allow you to have the other options for the cameras. But also what is interesting is from a firmware update perspective, the process is exactly the same as this as it is on the other gimbals, although it is quite a bit of a faff. There is a port on the side of the gimbal that you need to plug into to update the firmware. They don't include an adapter with it. You're going to need to use something like an FTDI adapter or a flight controller on pass-through. That way you'll be able to update the firmware. The firmware is looking almost identical to the other firmware as well. But overall, I think it's a good product. Now, one other little thing I did find, which you may find interesting, is this system is designed to be used with a wireless head tracker or PPM. But if you had the cable, it does also work with the pass-through on a set of goggles L and an Avatar VTX on the new firmware as well. So if you were to make your own cable, you would be able to have that same functionality that you can get from the other brand's gimbal. It will pass it through over the telemetry link and out the front. Now, as for price on these, it's a bit complicated that. I've seen them on AliExpress and a few other places. They are coming in a bit cheaper than the other equivalent, which is good. I will put a link to their website in the description, and I'll also put a link to the AliExpress listing and another website that I've seen them on as well. They're not affiliate links. You're going to want to search for the model number, the T20, if you want to find this. I'm guessing you're going to see this come available a lot more over the next few weeks and months as well in other places. So if you're interested in getting them, I would sort of search for the brand name rather than look on your traditional FPV retailer, and you'll probably find them come up. I overall like what they've done, and I do think that the setup they've got with this board and everything is really nice. It's great for rovers. I'm going to be doing more content on the O3 one in the future. We're going to be mounting it onto an aircraft. So if you're interested in seeing that, please do make sure you are subscribed to the channel. If you're also interested in seeing more around these and the crawler, I have a separate video on the crawler where I do show you, I should say, it out and about. And if you're interested in seeing that, please do consider checking it out as well. Overall, a lot to like, no complaints. If you're interested in getting them, the links will be below. I will say a big thank you to XF Robot, all X and a fee. I'm not quite sure how to say the brand name. There will be a link to their website in the description as well. If you found this video interesting, please don't forget to subscribe. If you'd like to know any more, put your questions and comments below and I'll try and answer them. And finally, I just want to say, if you'd like to support us to allow us to keep making content in the future, please do consider checking out the link to my Patreon as well as buying me a coffee in the description. It is only through the support of my patrons I'm able to keep making content on this channel. And if you'd like to support us to allow us to keep making content in the future, please do consider checking it out. Anyway, that's it from me on this one. Look after yourselves, stay safe. I will speak to you soon.